All right. Welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I am your host, Johnny McDonald. Please like, share, subscribe our page. Follow us on IG and Twitter as it says on the ticker. And thank you for joining in. This is episode number 28. Today, we're going to cover all teams in Toronto, Canada. The Raptors, Leafs, everybody. We're going to cover them and we're going to have fun. We have our guest today is a comedian, performs all over the world, and is a native of Toronto, Canada. Give it up for my man, Alex Pavone.
What up,
Alex, what's up,
buddy?
man? How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate talking about sports that are not in the United States, but I mean, Toronto has such a so I mean, things have been good for Toronto sports. You know what I'm saying? I think it's been good. I mean, Raptors definitely, even Blue Jays. You have you have championships you can reflect back on. But the Maple Leafs is a weird one, right? It's like one of those teams. Second, they have the second most Stanley Cups in NHL history, but that was since the last one is into the '60s. So all this time being like a Maple Leaf fan, how is that like going?
Um, Not great, honest to God. It's first of all, the thing with the Leafs are they sell out. They're sort of like the Knicks. They're not as bad as
Yeah,
the
that
Knicks.
I was reading about that. They're the highest price sports ticket in the NHL. I was like, word? I didn't,
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah. And it's not a great atmosphere either because it's a very corporate feel. Like
got it.
the front row is very suits and people are there because their companies are giving away tickets and stuff like that, so it's not as fun in my opinion. What when it was like back at Maple Leaf Gardens when I was younger, it was, I mean, I don't even know if it was less corporate, but I just felt like it was more fun back then.
Well, you made the perfect comparison being like the Knicks, just a terrible team and not giving, you
They're not
know,
as bad. They're
they're
not
not as
as
bad. Yeah, definitely
bad.
not as bad. But it's the same like the Knicks. If you've been to a Knicks game, it's very corporate. Most people are there more to be seen than, even though the games, like nothing's like it. I mean, unfortunately I go to a shitload of games
Yeah.
and I still have the best time. There's something about the Garden that's different from any other place to watch anything, but it's really very corporate, very the real fans sit up in the upper deck,
Exactly.
and they're almost unaffordable. You know what I'm saying? You could easily, if you say you take a date or you take your family out to a game, that's easily like $300 to $400 spent the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive, and Scotiabank Bank Center now it's called, prior to I think last season. But yeah, same shit, man. It's just not for the product that they're putting on the ice, which has improved in the last couple years.
Hmm.
It doesn't make sense for how much the ticket prices are. And there was a stretch of like 10 years where the Leafs were brutal, man. They were
Yeah.
brutal. They couldn't get anything going.
Hmm.
So it was tough. It's been tough. It's been tough being a Leafs fan, and I really have sort of turned my back on them a bit in the last few years for sure, especially with the Raptors being so good and
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I
Jays
don't
being
blame you.
pretty good. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
blame you. I mean, looking up things now, I know who Tim Horton is. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah. You were trying to crack that case where this guy came from, right?
Yeah.
He was a hockey player for sure.
I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense. I knew Tim Horton was a franchise, like a donut franchise in Canada, but I didn't know who Tim Horton was. I was like, got it.
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
hockey player. He played back in the day when no one had helmets or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Crazy drafts.
if anything, Tim Horton's probably the greatest thing with
Yeah.
hot Toronto hockey. So yeah, that was great. So we'll move on from that. We'll talk about some Blue Jays. I remember my first memories of the Blue Jays, I guess, when '87 when George Bell won the MVP, and then the Sky Dome opened in '89. That was a big deal. Talk about, I guess, like where were you, how old were you, and how big like a deal the Sky Dome was. Well,
In,
now the
in
Rogers
all
Center.
in all honesty, well, I still call it the Sky Dome. Honestly,
Yeah,
if you're before a certain age, you still call it the Sky Dome.
yeah.
Everyone, I know people. I know who they are based on their age and where they're from. that if they call it the Rogers Center, you're either not from Toronto or you're not in your 30s. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it was always a
Uh-huh.
Sky Dome. I'm 34, so honestly my first memory of the Jays is when they won the World Series
Yeah.
because I was about 5 and they won it. They won the first year, and then the second year was the crazy.
Yeah, the Joe Carter home run, which was for like only the second time a walk-off happened in a World Series, and
Yeah,
like the excitement of that, I mean, seeing Joe Carter jump up and down in the crowd, just totally lose their shit, was like a very electric time. Where were you when that happened, and how big
I
was that?
I lived in like the suburbs, like 20 minutes from downtown, but we could see the Roger or Sky Dome and the CN Tower from our
Uh-huh.
house. So
Nice. Oh wow.
so there was a delay, right? And obviously because it's on TV, right? So
Uh-huh.
we saw fireworks before he hit
It
the home
happened.
run.
Yeah. Yep.
So like we just saw the fireworks in the distance because we had the windows open, and then
Hmm.
we were like, "That's got to be a good thing." There's, you're not going to hit the fireworks if we strike out or hit into a double play. That's bad
Uh-huh.
pyrotechnics
Yeah.
if you hit the fireworks and we lose. So we knew
Yeah.
we knew something was coming, and then he hit the
Yeah.
home run. I remember that. My parents weren't really into sports, you
Got
know,
you.
but
Hmm.
when that run was happening, they would have people at the house. We just had gotten moved into a new house, so we had people over, and everyone was sort of into it, right? So
Yeah.
it was a good run.
Yeah, when a team like does well in your city, no matter if you're like a casual fan or a diehard fan, whoever's around that atmosphere is always, caught up in it because it's such a big deal. Like, people take off of work or like, shops are closed because, your team won, and then you
Yeah,
have
we had it.
riots afterward.
We had it. Yeah, I don't know anything about the riots, but we hadn't had a champion since I guess the Leafs in like '67 or whatever, unless you count lacrosse. We clean
Yeah.
up lacrosse, but I don't count that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so it was pretty wild, and I just remember every mom or my mom's friend just had the hots for Roberto Alomar.
Yeah.
They just loved Roberto Alomar.
Yeah. Spitting at umpires and stuff
Yeah,
like
that
that.
was after. We didn't take credit for it after that. He's hawking the loops when he was on Baltimore.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, he wasn't ours then. So
Oh, okay.
he's
Yeah,
America's
but
problem at that point.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's not ours. We shipped them out of here. We deported them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Talk about, I guess, the Sky Dome Rogers Center, where like, because I've heard about the stories. I mean, first of all, it was like a futuristic, you know, sports venue with the retractable
Yeah,
roof. At the time, now it looks like everybody else. It's like now you probably need a total
yeah,
renovated new stadium now. But like, the retractable roof, the hotels, and
yeah,
I've read the stories about people having sex during games
yeah.
that people pick out and just like, yeah. Have you ever like seen any wild stuff or like talk about your experiences at Rogers Center?
So one year I had season tickets for the Jays. Me and like a bunch of our friends, we went in for seasons. So we all got like I forget, maybe like it was like came out to 16 games each or something like that.
Okay.
But this was
Like
the
so you had a
Rogers.
little mini plan. Yeah.
We had a mini, yeah, exactly. Which that was a fun summer. They weren't that good. I think
That's
it
when
was
they
like
had those uniforms, like the black uniforms and the
yeah, it was like 2008 or something. I don't even remember the uniforms. I
Yeah,
remember
but
like
I remember.
Sean.
Yeah, I remember they had that those black ones, and it was like, well, what the hell are you doing? It's just
Yeah,
very,
there
yeah,
was a stretch where the jerseys were brutal. But I remember like Markham was on the team and McGowan, like pitchers like that. Ricky
hmm,
Romero was on the team.
yeah,
Matt Stairs, like I remember those guys were on the team. I think Delgado had just left. No, he maybe had been gone for a couple of years. I don't really remember at the time, but
hmm,
Um, I actually know a guy who controls the jumbotron. Like he's the
oh,
producer
nice,
of the jumbotron at the Rogers Center, and
hmm,
he was telling me stories about the hotels
yeah,
because So he told me one, and it's not my story, but I'm going to tell it. So
uh-huh, yeah,
he said that before the game they would always have to set up and do things like this and do things and he would always look at the hotels, and there was a guy in the hotel one time building something, And he was like, okay, guys, to his team, he's like, keep an eye on that for the game. We're gonna maybe use that, right? But or maybe not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So apparently he's building this thing. Game starts. He's still building. He's still building. About the third inning, completed it. So they're like, what the hell's going on in there? Blinds open, right there. He wants people to see. All of a sudden, he opens the door, lets a prostitute in, right? The guy made a sex swing, and they're on the sex swing having sex during the game, and he just built it all in that time. And they were like, well, obviously we can't put that on the Jumbotron, but this was definitely a first. But yeah, I used to always text him because he was working in comedy as well, so I knew him through
Oh, okay,
there.
nice. Okay,
So I
cool.
text him, I'm like, yo, I'm coming to the game. Here's my section. And I would always get on the Jumbotron.
Jumbotron.
And if my friends were going to the game and it was like two guys, I'd be like, yo, put them on the kiss cam. This
Uh-huh.
2008 when you could still, like make fun of your friends and be like, what
Yeah, yeah, it's like
now I could never do it. I'd be
nah.
fully canceled if God
Yeah, oh yeah.
wanted to make a joke that my friends were kissing. But yeah,
Wow.
my friends would always get on the kiss cam and they would be like, what the fuck? And I would die laughter. I would always die. I was like, I did that. So that was fun.
Wow. That was hilarious. So
Yeah.
like yeah, so you had season tickets. So you get to reap the full benefits of, going to games at Rogers Center and
Yeah.
having fun. So yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, those are memories that will last forever. So all right, so let's move on to the Toronto Raptors, probably the greatest thing going right now in in sports. I remember they came an expansion team, and Vancouver Grizzlies came on 1995. So you're around a little bit more knowledgeable fan of sports now. And so tell me, like when you got an NBA team and you hear the announcement of you getting an NBA team in Toronto, how excited were you, or was it a big deal in Toronto and as well as Canada to get two teams in the nation in Canada?
Well, it was a big deal for me because I was a kid and honest to God, I know that everyone says like they picked the Raptors because Jurassic Park was big at the time and it
So
was
yeah, of course, yeah.
but it worked. Like it really
Hmm.
worked because we were all younger and we were like, oh, Raptors, cool, they're dinosaurs,
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
so honestly, that was the push that we needed because basketball wasn't necessarily that huge. It was big because of Jordan, but
Yeah.
outside of that, it wasn't really big. It wasn't really
Yeah.
popping off. Space Jam was around that time too, right?
Yeah, it came in right around the right time, and Jordan was like the greatest player in
Exactly.
all sports, and his popularity transcended throughout with the Dream Team and so
Exactly.
he's an icon, a global icon.
Exactly. So it just wasn't really on TV much when I was a kid. I remember
Yeah.
football Sundays and I remember just a lot of hockey and like curling and shit. Like honestly, and obviously baseball in the summer, but seriously, like curling was on way more than the NBA. I don't really remember it. And
Hmm.
as a kid, and then when the Raptors came, it was cool because they had that Raptor logo and
Yeah.
they were also playing at the Sky Dome at the time.
Yeah, I remember they didn't have an indoor stadium to accommodate them yet. Yeah.
Yeah, because Maple Leaf Gardens was still going, and then in,
Yeah.
in like '99 or '98 or '99, that's when they moved to the
Air Canada.
Canada Center.
Yeah.
Now the Scotiabank Arena.
Hmm.
So like it was at the Sky Dome, and we had Damon Stoudemire, who they called
Yeah, I was the rookie
Mighty
of the
Mouse.
year. Mighty
He
Mouse.
was the Rookie of the Year, and he was a huge part of that initial push of the franchise because
Hmm.
we beat the Bulls that year. I remember.
Yeah,
I
I
remember when
remember.
we beat the Bulls because everyone was going crazy at school. Everyone was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, David Stoudemire's the best. He's the
Yeah.
greatest." Because he's. I don't know if he had a better game than Jordan, but he definitely won.
But he's a
So
likable guy, Mighty Mouse, short guy. Yeah, he's a
he's
guy you can
sick.
pull for. Yeah.
Yeah,
5'10". Yeah, he's like a guy you could definitely get behind. And it's a new team. Obviously they're not going to be good because it's their first year in existence. So you get the scraps of all the other NBA castaways, so to speak. Yeah, I remember Oliver Miller, I think, and a couple other
yeah,
guys they had.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Reggie
mean, it was
Miller.
fun times. Yeah, those uniforms with the big dinosaur on them look like pajamas.
Exactly. And then like when I went to a game, it was just better than the Leaf game. It was just so much more fun.
Was
It
that at
was
Sky Dome your first game, or?
yeah, yeah. I went to a Sky Dome game. And it was
Yeah,
just
how was
so
that? Because I mean, it was like a quarter of the stadium being
it was
used.
yeah, they like from what I remember they had like roped stuff off, like curtained
Yeah.
some stuff off, and
Uh-huh.
it was they just try to, make it as tight as possible. But it was a little weird. It
Yeah.
was because you're used to watching the Jays and then you're used to
Hmm.
watching the Leafs in like Maple Leaf Gardens. It's like old, cool hockey arena. So this was a little weird, but it was so fun and everybody was like into it. Seats were like obviously cheaper. You get a mix of different people
Yeah,
wearing,
you're trying to win
hockey.
fan. They're trying to win fans their first year. So
Yeah. And in hockey, it was just all a bunch of like for the majority, it's like all a bunch of white people and a lot of old white people, and like now
uh-huh.
it's a bit now it's a bit better, but it was just like a better atmosphere for kids for sure, and it was just it was just super fun, and then the team got pretty once Vince got there, it which
Yeah.
wasn't long after, it was like what three
Yeah.
4 years we were like, holy shit, we got a guy. And then it
Yeah.
was, and then the Grizzlies were fucking trash, and that was even
Hmm.
better because
Yeah.
we're like, fuck Vancouver, the West Coast bums. Get it, go play in
Yeah.
soil or whatever it is you do
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, talking. Did you know about Vince Carter? I guess like the 98 draft is like probably like Vince Carter is probably the most popular Raptor of all time. I mean, they Golden State drafts him, but they make the trade with Antoine Jameson. Now you have this guy. I mean, I didn't know how good he was going to be, but I mean, just an icon in Toronto those first few seasons. Talk about like I guess him being just a superstar, a human highlight reel. And how did the city treat him how did you feel when he
When he came, he was. I mean, he literally took the city by storm because he was just
in
this.
the NBA as well?
And the NBA, right? And the fact that the NBA was talking about the Raptors, we were like, holy shit, who is
Yeah.
this guy? He's a rookie. He's doing these incredible things. And then like the next year, he was like one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
He was legitimately the guy where they were like, this guy's like a top five player.
Hmm.
He's that good.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was exciting. And then, we beat the Knicks. We lost the Knicks, and then we beat
Yeah,
the
that first
Knicks.
round. Yeah. And I remember that also, that 2000, before I rewind a little bit back to the slam dunk contest. Legend, it might be the greatest slam dunk performance
Oh, it is for
ever.
sure. For sure.
With the elbow, like, the elbow in the hoop, and just his just God-given ability to hop that, just beautiful dunks.
The first one was my favorite one, like the
Uh-huh.
360 reverse, like
Yeah.
against the. Sometimes I'll still do it, like obviously not jam, but just like try to jump the other
Just do it.
way,
Yeah.
and I get like this high off the ground, and like my back hurts. I'm like, how in the fuck did he do that? When I'm jamming something in the garbage or something.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously the like through the legs was just he made it just look so easy. That was what
Uh-huh.
was so amazing is how easy
Hmm.
he made it look.
Yeah,
So
just it was grace,
yeah, it was
basically.
insane.
Yeah, and then 2000, like you said, he led the team to the playoffs, their first playoff push, in like the next 3 seasons. They're like a contender, what
Yeah,
I'm saying, in the East.
they shit the bed the next year against well after they beat the Knicks I believe they lost to Detroit,
They
and
had a
that was
great
sort of
series against. They lost to Philly in 2001, I remember, and T Mac was on that team too. T Mac is another guy
yeah.
who, like,
Actually,
yeah,
T Mac wasn't on the team when they lost to Philly.
he wasn't.
I don't
Or
think
he
so.
might have.
No.
You might be right. I'm not sure, but like, yeah, I know 2000 he was there. He was
2000 for
yeah,
sure. 2000 for
yeah.
sure. And then I think he left the next year. That's
He
what
signed a
was.
big deal with Orlando. So, and him and
Yeah,
Grant
yeah.
Hill went to Orlando. So yeah,
Yeah, which
but
sucked because fuck, man. Imagine
yeah,
T Mac and
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 Vince,
Vince.
yeah.
Yeah, they went in. When they were just starting to hit their
Hmm.
prime. So it sort of. I remember that year too, 2001, because the Leafs played Ottawa. The Leafs played Ottawa every year in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Ottawa would fucking win every year. They'd come in first place, and they'd play the
Hmm.
Leafs in eighth place, and the Leafs would always win. I never forget it. But the Leafs were playing Ottawa, and the Raps were playing Philly, or it was they were both in the playoffs. And I remember
Hmm.
even my dad, like who he's more of a hockey guy than a
Yeah.
basketball guy, but he
Hmm.
doesn't care about basketball. But he was even like putting on the Raptors over the Leafs. I remember that.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, both
yeah.
sports. I mean, like I can say I'm a casual hockey fan, so but it's fun to watch a live game. I mean, on TV it may be a little bit tough to follow for if you're not a a diehard fan, but like yeah, basketball is just so fun watching
Yeah,
in
because
person.
Vince and Allen Iverson were going like 40-40,
Yeah, that whole yeah, that
50,
whole
50.
yeah, that was a great series, man. Seven
Yeah, yeah,
game
it was
series,
cool.
2001.
So everyone
Yeah.
was like really into that series for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, after that, like the team, Carter sticks around. In 2003, they draft Chris Bosh, which is a big deal. So
Yeah.
now Bosh and Vince Carter is on the team for a little while. And then 2005, midseason, they trade Vince to Jersey. How did you feel Vince leaving at the time? Do you think like, all right, well, this is business, here it goes, but it's like, oh man, we
No,
just traded probably
no,
the greatest
hated him.
Raptor. Yeah.
No, immediately hated him. Still hate him. Seriously, can't stand him.
Wow.
He was like giving, like he quit. First of all, after that summer when they lost to Philly, he got all the guys signed. Antonio Davis, Jerome
Uh-huh.
Williams, Alvin Williams. They got huge
Yeah, they got
contracts.
like,
Okay?
yeah, good
Way
guys. Yeah.
bigger than all they should have got. But Vince
Uh-huh.
Carter took control and he, made his buddies get money. And it's sort of I think like, you pay like Alvin Williams is good, but he's not a,
Yeah.
like he's not a like a top 10 point guard
No,
in the
no, there, no, there. He served the
Craig
purpose at the time. Yeah, he was a great
was
role
good.
player and did his
Yeah, he was
starter,
good
did his job.
for sure.
But
But so he gets all these guys money, and then the next year he gets hurt, and then he says that he doesn't want to be there. The next and then the following year he's like, I'm not dunking anymore. And then there was like, then there was saying how um like he was giving plays away. He was like
oh wow,
telling
wait,
the other
he
team,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
shaving games, he was shaving points.
He was like on the inbounds. He's like, hey, we're gonna do this and that. And
Wow, so he was doing the blue chips.
yeah, yes. He didn't want to be there no more, and he wanted any
Wow,
way
just
to get out. So it
that's
was like,
insane.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And then and that was that. And then they traded him for fucking nothing. They
Yeah, I
traded
think
him
they
for
got a morning. They got morning and
William
morning did.
Cobb. Yeah, they got Alvin
Which
Williams, not Aaron Williams and Eric
yeah,
Williams. Two
yeah,
two
Sue Williams.
for Vince Carter, and then the guy played incredible.
Yeah. Talk about, I guess, the thing about players, and this might not be NBA quotes, but for all, because you hear about the taxes in Canada, which is why some people like are hesitant to play sports in Canada because of the taxes. That like that kind of like, do they overpay players just for the sake of all right, listen, we know the taxes are bad here,
Buddy,
but
I honestly have no idea how taxes get taken into consideration in the NBA or the
because I remember
NHL.
Charles Oakley bitched about it. I remember Kenny Anderson going there, and as soon as he got there, he's like, "Nah, I'm not playing here." So they end up like getting him out of there. A Morning, I think, bitched about it too. So it's always
Yeah,
interesting. Like,
I
is it
have
that
no idea.
bad to the point where it's like, "Nah, I can't play here."
I know for a fact you get taxed more as a Canadian, but I
Yeah,
don't know how, outside of like into the NBA how that works. Like I don't
yeah.
know if there's like special treatment for NBA players where they get more of a salary that goes to their like I don't know how that
And
works.
I never heard about it in any. I haven't heard about it about with the Blue Jays. You know what I'm saying? If players come
Yeah,
into there and be like, "Hey, taxes," I don't want
yeah.
to go
I think a lot
there.
of people have a problem with like them not getting exposure because it's not going to be in they're not talked about enough,
Because
or they're
they're in
not
another
talking.
country, maybe. But I mean, Toronto,
Dude,
I guess, is kind of like the New York of Canada, right? And
I
it's
will
really
say this though. I will say this. ESPN and like the American media will always favor it's just being American is first and foremost. Like you
yeah,
will always favor being American over a Canadian team. And there's
yeah.
always a little bit, if Toronto's in the mix, they're going to root against them a little bit. And I
Hmm.
think that's just part of it, There's stuff like that, just not the exposure. And I guess the winters that people say, like they act like people are like living outside. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you live in Toronto winter? It's like
Yeah.
you're a millionaire. You
Yeah,
live in
you
a
get out of here. You
condo.
can't. Yeah, you can't.
It's full of heat. Your
Hmm.
parking garage is full of heat.
Yeah.
You get into a car full of heat. You
Yeah.
drive somewhere. It's full of heat. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. I remember it reminds me of the story when Stephon Marbury was playing the Timberwolves with Garnett. And he said he wanted to leave. It's like, oh, Minnesota's too cold. I mean, yeah, I get that, but you can go. You're an NBA, you're a millionaire. You can, you can come and go. You don't have to live in Minnesota.
Yeah, you could leave during
Just
the
do your
off-season.
50 plus games there.
Just get an amazing house with heat. What the hell are we talking about?
But it always baffled me how Canadians, and also I guess around the
Toronto.
I haven't been to Toronto. It's a bucket list for me.
Awesome city.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and it's not even Chicago's colder.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I've seen I'm glad to make friends with more Canadian people. I was like, now I have a reason to definitely go there. I was like, yeah, I definitely want to go to Toronto now. But talk about, I guess, in the early mid 2000s, you've seen a trend of Canadian teams leaving, like the Vancouver Grizzlies went to Memphis. The Montreal Expos end up going to Washington. Now they're the Nationals. Did you have a fear of maybe the Raptors or even the Blue Jays, either relocating to an American soil, or did you have that? I did hear a rumor maybe Toronto possibly were leaving, because I remember they took Toronto off their jerseys because they're like, all right, if we leave, you know what I'm saying? Let's let's be prepared and get rid of it.
No, I wasn't ever concerned, man. There's just too much money in Toronto, and especially now they being the only city for
the NBA, both
the
MLB.
Exactly. There's just too much money now because now they branded it Canada's team.
Exactly.
Everyone's cheering from it. I did like the Expos, actually. I thought the Expos were really cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think what had happened was the transit system did not go to
accommodate to the stadium.
Exactly. So that was their issue. They weren't getting enough people because
so it was a pain to people to go to.
That's what I heard with what a major issue was with not getting fans. But no, Toronto's always Toronto has I think if Toronto was an American city, it would be the third most populated city.
Yeah, so I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at postcards. I guess it makes it look like, oh, this place is fantastic. Yeah, why would people even leave?
Buddy, I ask myself that every day.
Yeah, it's clean and it's everything.
It's very clean. There's garbage cans every block, which is important.
So I'll move on. Yeah, after Vince leaves, 2006, Raptors have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, and he drafts Andrea Bargnani, which was it kind of worked because they made the playoffs those 2 seasons after he was there. So yeah, Bargnani, Bosh, that team kind of worked out.
Bargnani was actually so talented though. He was just he's an idiot and a pussy. But he had skill. He was so skillful. And he was always in these. Okay, I'm my family's from Italy, right? And then and then Bargnani's obviously Italian, right?
Yeah.
So where I'm from in Toronto is a very Italian neighborhood. Everyone's first generation Italian, right? All of our parents were born in Italy, and we're first generation. So the Bargnani love was insane.
Absolutely, I can see that.
I had a Bargnani jersey. He used to be in these Primo pasta commercials.
Wow, yeah, got a deal, yeah.
Bro, every commercial was Bargnani eating pasta, but he would miss 40 3-pointers in a row, and then it would cut to his commercial. And everyone's like, bro, make a fucking shot.
Wow.
He was but he would do one play a game where you were like, dude, you're so good.
Good.
Yo, did you see that what David West said?
What about Bargnani?
And Bosh?
What did he say?
He said that if the NBA was now, Bargnani and Bosh would be unguardable. He said that the only
because they were tall shooters, long range, like Dirk. Dirk, the European trend was, skyrocketing. So you had guys you had the Dirks and you had the Stojakovic's who are just can play fundamental ball. And, then you had guys just coming in. If you were a tall European guy, is like, all right, this guy can shoot. You
Yeah,
can get him inside. He can do so many things, which,
Dirk was better at like posting up and just being like a standstill
yeah.
shooter. Bargnani
Hmm.
was more on the move. He could shoot too,
Yeah.
but not as
Gasol was
effective.
another big one. Yeah.
But he said David West said that if the only reason that they could guard Bosch and Bargnani is because they would let the refs would let them get beat up. Like they could put their hands on them and smoke them. And he said, but
Hmm.
if it was now, he's like they would be unguardable. He said Toronto
Yeah.
at the time was like 7 years ahead of the trend of how the NBA is now. He's
Yeah.
like, but like right now with the rules in place, you couldn't stop Bargnani or
Yanni
Bosch.
Bosch. Yeah.
But he said that they used to kill Bargnani. He's like,
Hmm.
we used to kick the shit out of that guy. They said, I still don't care for him. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. He ended
But
up getting traded to the Knicks, and it became
oh,
our
I
problem
remember.
for a little while.
Remember when he shot it and Tyson Chandler was like, "What are you doing?"
Doing, yeah.
There's
And I was remember
a
the
second
dunk.
left.
Yeah. If you remember, you see the poster of Borgnani on the Knicks missing that dunk for like
Oh, that's the
5 feet.
funniest.
Oh man, that's a flop and a half. It's one of the worst things that can
It's
ever happen.
It's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, the Bargnani era was like, first 2 seasons made the playoffs, but after that, 2010, Bosch leaves now. So probably at the time the greatest Raptor of all time, Bosch. How did you feel about him leaving, going with Wade and LeBron to Miami?
At that point, you couldn't blame you couldn't blame it.
Anybody?
And, you can't blame Bosch. The team was shitty.
Hmm.
Vince had done it in a weaselier way. T-Mac
Yeah.
did it before. I guess Stoudemire had left. So we were just like, what do we expect from this guy? There wasn't as much animosity towards Bosch as there was Carter
Yeah,
by a
absolutely.
mile because he didn't ask for a trade. He just, his contract expired and he went to another team. Okay, he
Hmm.
joined the Heat, which is,
Yeah,
okay, Wade and LeBron.
LeBron. Yeah, you're not losing with those guys.
No, so you're sort of like, all right, bro, have fun being the third fiddle. But if it wasn't for Bosch, they wouldn't have won any of those championships either, right? Like if he wasn't there, they wouldn't have won. I don't think, at least,
Yeah, no, I totally
like,
agree, man.
he's sick.
Yeah.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Who,
Honestly, he's
Bosch?
sick.
Well, yeah, give it time. Give it time.
Yeah, he's awesome. He was an awesome
Yeah.
player.
So I'll fast forward. There's some bad years till 2014. Like they become a force with the backcourt of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. You know what I'm saying? A guy who bounced, I think, maybe a couple of teams before that, and really found his home. And so that backcourt, and then Dwayne Casey was the head coach at the time. So they win at like 2014 and above. They improve and win like 50 games, and they're always like the top teams in the East. So talk about I guess the start of the championship season, like the
Yeah,
DeRozan and Lowry. Valanciunas was another guy who contributed a lot.
yeah, they were good. They had great regular seasons in the beginning of that run from like 2014 2015. So at that beginning of those 2014 2015, they did have great regular seasons, and then hiccups in the playoffs where they couldn't get out of the first round. They lost to Brooklyn, and we were like, okay, Brooklyn had Pierce and Garnett, which are
Yeah, I remember that year,
but then
Duran.
that next year they lost to Washington. They got swept. And we were like, well, that was the fucking year
Yeah.
that we should have took a step forward, not backwards.
Hmm.
So there was always that, like, are we gonna just be this good regular season team?
Team, yeah.
And then we did eventually get over those early, postseason round like hiccups. But then once we got to the good teams like the LeBron, where
Yeah,
LeBron
LeBron was mostly, I think, the thorn in the side of the Raptors when,
was,
yeah.
he
Yeah.
was for sure. But also it became more and more obvious that either Lowry or DeRozan wasn't that killer instinct guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I was like, DeRozan is he. I love DeRozan, but he was just
Hmm.
like, when it came to like, okay, this year when Jimmy Butler played against LeBron,
Uh-huh.
The difference Jimmy Butler did, like he stepped up and challenged them. DeRozan would curdle.
Yeah.
DeRozan is Jimmy Butler without the without the courage.
And a tad bit bigger. And yeah, just yeah. And Butler's
Yeah,
Butler's a gangster. You know what I'm
he's a
saying?
game. He's a monster. Like he's so
Yeah.
tough. And
Yeah.
DeRozan just sort of lacks that. Like when there's a challenge, he would crumble a bit.
Yeah.
And I
If
would
anything, I would think Lowry was the more like, gangster out of he's just like he would like be the guy.
yeah, towards the end, I was like, you know what, one of them's got to go, and then I was hoping it would be DeRozan, and it was because
Yeah.
I love DeRozan, I think he's great, but after a certain point, you just got to come to grips with the fact that it's not going to work,
Yeah. And that's
and luckily we got Kawhi, so
yeah, and that's what leads up to 2018, that offseason major change. First, they fired Dwayne Casey, and then they hired Nick Nurse. Dwayne Casey just, improve, but not good enough. I guess. How did you feel when they fired Casey?
unfortunately, when you're a coach, a lot of the times when heads roll, you're gonna be the first guy.
Yeah, you're the
That's just
scapegoat.
like
You're the guy. Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
Casey, and I thought he was a really good coach for what he had. Again, he didn't really have necessarily a superstar, but had this roster of a really solid team. And when they got to the point in the playoffs where you need sort of someone to take over, he didn't have that guy, so he was limited. But at the same time, there were things like where he would 3 playoffs in a row have the same offense. And it
Yeah,
would all be like ISO ball, top of the key when, DeRozan just shooting, long jumpers and it wasn't he didn't really adapt, he
true.
wasn't really, he didn't win them any games based on his coaching, you know.
Yeah.
Nurse this year, if I could just say,
Hmm.
obviously our team wasn't as good as last year, and we weren't as talented as like the Celtics, but Nurse's ability to like
Push those guys. Yeah,
and
he
and
really did
and
a hell of a
and
job.
really have like adjust. He got him a couple extra wins, man, and Casey never did that.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's so true. So
he didn't really do that.
yeah. So like I said, 2008 All Team, Nurse is now the new coach, and the major trade, DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. First, let's talk about, I guess, DeRozan leaving, because DeRozan was hurt about it. He really wanted to be a Raptor.
Yeah,
And he felt like he was stabbed, he was betrayed. And a guy who wants to be in Toronto, who wants to win with the Raptors. Talk about, I guess, DeRozan leaving, and then you get obviously top 5 player in Kawhi.
yeah. I mean, I was excited because first of all, you're like, is Kawhi going to be 100%? And then you're like, you have to take that chance because he
Yeah.
hasn't been playing. He's hurt. Like the injury probably. I didn't think it was that crazy. Like how
But
mad?
also like the rumblings with him in San Antonio, which is a first. Have you ever heard about anybody griping in San Antonio and Popovich? Because Popovich is a legend. You know what I'm saying? And like everybody's like, the Spurs teams were always those teams. I mean, you had a superstar in Duncan, but those guys just fell in line and just trust the process, and just like, Ginobili, Parker,
Yeah,
and, much older team that always was a threat and always was there. You know what I'm saying?
and Kawhi never said a word or was always like very quiet. So you just
Uh-huh.
assumed he was that type of guy. But really, now it's coming out he's not.
Yeah.
He's like he's a diva. He's like a
Yeah.
undercover. But at the time, yeah, you get the trade. You're like, this is it for us. Like, we're not going to be better than, well, the Cavs now are done, but we're not going to be
Hmm.
better than, Boston or Philly or these
Hmm.
teams like on the rise, or Milwaukee too, because Giannis is starting to go.
Yeah, Giannis.
We're
Yeah.
not going to beat these teams with DeRozan. So yeah, let's take a chance, roll the dice, see what happens, and luckily.
Yeah.
It,
So like, yeah, the 2018-2019 season starts up, and it's a great season. Another 50 plus win under Nurse. Second round with Philly, that's a hard fought series, and that's a legendary because Kawhi hit that buzzer beater that rolled around and danced around the rim for a second. Talk about that. I know you're already in New York now doing comedy, so it's like, yeah, talk about that experience with that shot.
Pretty sure it was Mother's Day that day, and we had just got killed game 6,
Mm-hmm.
where I thought we were going to win game 6 because we killed them in game 5.
Yeah.
And then, you think about Vince's shot missing against Philly, and you're like, the Leafs would always lose to Philly in the playoffs. So
Uh
it's over. We're going to lose to Philly again.
huh.
Game 7, like every other fucking thing and every other year. And then
Mm-hmm.
we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning. Then they start to come back, but then we're winning. And then they hit that fucking shot at the end, Butler, who was awesome. And I was like, it's over, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're not. And then he hit that shot, and it was, I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
It was the craziest shot of all time. I
Yeah.
watched that
Bounced
shot.
around. Yeah. It's like a good 15 minutes of the ball dancing around.
It is insane. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, at that time, when that ball went in, I was like, I think we got this. It was
Yeah.
like that shot went in. Durant hurt himself, and
Mm-hmm.
around that time, so I was like,
Yeah.
we got this. Even when we
Yeah.
were down 0-2 to the Bucks,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we got this still.
It's a run. Yeah, it's a run. These guys like Kawhi showing his veteran postseason leadership. You're like, yeah, I got this. Yeah, they beat Milwaukee in 6 games, and then that finals against Golden State. What at the team on paper was the best team ever. You got like 5 All-Stars. You added Cousins, but all these guys, the consistency. The problem was those injuries. You know what I'm saying? And then Durant gets hurt. And then now, like you said, like you think like talk about the finals and like that experience. Like going in, you were like, oh, Golden State, typical. There's a dynasty right here. We're not going to beat these guys with like, you got stars, superstars
Yeah,
everywhere.
guys who changed the game.
Yes.
They've
Mm-hmm.
changed the way people play.
Yeah.
Like,
Curry, Durant, both game changers. Curry now is the best shooter of all time.
Clay is incredible.
Yeah.
Clay was scarier
Yes.
than Steph.
Sometimes, yeah, at times, yeah.
So basically, game 1 we took care of business, and then game 2 we let it slip away. We had them, and we let it slip away, and then going back to Golden State, you're just like, get one, just get
Get
one,
one. Uh-huh.
and then we got 2, and it was that. I think it was game 3. Clay was hurt.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, that's when I think he had a great game and then he got hurt. Yeah.
He got hurt during game 2, and that he was the
Mm-hmm.
one who was killing us. So he
Yeah.
got hurt. So he's
Cousins was another one. He came back and got hurt, and then
Yeah.
KD, that injury was bad too. Yeah.
KD never played right until game 5.
Remember, he came back in game 5, tried to give it a run, and I don't blame him.
Of course, I know. I don't blame him either. I feel bad for him, but
Yeah.
yeah, like game 3, we're like, this is a must win, and they took care of business because Clay wasn't playing. Like, they were injured. We needed this. We got it.
Mhm.
And then game 4, that was just, they were back. They had their guys back, and
Mhm.
Kawhi really had a crazy start to the third quarter where he just hit like a couple threes, and they really just that was the game where it was like, holy shit, we need one more win, and
Yeah.
we're going back home. Like, this
Mhm.
is like, we got it in game 5. I took a bus back home.
Oh wow.
I got on a Greyhound, and I was like gone the next day.
I'm going
I was
home.
like, I have to be
Wow.
here.
You wanted a
Wow.
full experience. Like, this will probably never happen in my lifetime again. I don't blame you.
Bro, game 5 though in Toronto, okay, it was insane. Okay,
Mhm.
no one. I remember going to a bar, and when you could be inside and like touch people,
Yeah.
and I remember like just all Raps gear, everyone like on the train, Raps gear, just not saying a word, just like ready to rock. And then like I just remember being on the escalator, going up the escalator, and just like seeing people come down the escalator on the subway, and just like high-fiving people and just not even looking back. Like we were just high, like robots. We were just like boom, not even like
Wow.
no one saying words, just like high-fiving. And then I was getting a coffee, and then I got an alert that said Durant was playing, and I swear to
Mm.
God, the fucking the clouds got
Dark.
black, dude, and it started lightning. I swear to God,
Wow.
lightning and rain, and people were all looking at their phone. Everyone must have got the alert, and everyone was like, "Oh fuck!" And then he got like 10 points in like a minute. We were like,
Yeah,
"No!"
he's like, no.
And then he hurt himself, and then everyone, no one wanted him to hurt himself, but no one was like, fuck, good that he hurt himself. But
Hmm.
no one was like, well, I hope he comes back.
Yeah.
Not one human. We were like, well, I hope he has a great rehab and things get
Yeah,
well
it's
for
like,
him.
yeah, Godspeed. Yeah.
Recovery, and we wish you nothing but the best. But we
Hmm.
didn't cheer for the injury, but we
Yeah,
didn't.
you didn't, cry for it either. You were good.
No,
Yeah,
we didn't.
absolutely. Hmm.
And then we lost still because Clay and Steph went off at the end,
Yeah.
which might
Without
have been
KD,
better.
that's still a great team. They won 73 games before the KD.
And Iguodala came in and got like fucking 20 points. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they're an amazing team. And
Yeah.
and maybe luckily it was better that they didn't win in game 5 because it was in Toronto and like the city was
Hmm.
about to explode.
Yeah.
Like we were gonna explode. Game 6, I think people were like I can't deal with this. And it wasn't
A
as
lot of
like
stress, a lot of, yeah, because all
game
your energy and
5
focus is invested in this moment.
and there's more nerves. But game 5, we
Hmm.
got this. This is a party day. We're gonna
Yep.
win and we're gonna party. But then
Hmm.
game 6 was like, oh God, I don't know if we're gonna win. Like I'm not ready for this. You know?
Uh-huh.
So but then there was game 6 and that was a wrap, you
It
know.
was a wrap, man. Wanted to, yeah, beat Golden State in 6. A feat that a lot of people probably wouldn't see them doing, and they win their first ever championship. I mean, Toronto was on fire, especially like with the impact of Drake being in the front. Would you consider him a real fan? I mean, yeah, he's from there, but
Yeah,
you know,
consider
yeah,
I consider Drake a real fan. I think what he's done for Toronto is pretty cool. He's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm not
definitely,
like an enormous fan or about like I like his music, but I'm
yeah,
not like a diehard Drake fan. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I like what he does. I mean the guy could show up to the games on time a little bit.
Yeah.
He 8 minutes into the first quarter, and you're like, Drake,
Yeah.
for God's sakes, you're getting
Yeah.
$1,000 tickets. Can you show up fucking a little bit on time? I know you're getting to
I
the
know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then his little spat with Draymond and him getting involved. Yeah, that's when a lot of when your
Like,
team's doing well, all the celebs come out and a lot of people take pride in the team. Like, oh, we won. Then you have a whole, like you said, you have like this Canada's team, a whole nation behind you. So just tell me, like, where were you when the game clinched game 6 and how crazy was it?
I was at this place called the Comedy Bar where there was obviously no comedy at during that time because no one
Hmm.
cared. Everyone was
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
and you know you I never thought that the Raptors would ever win in my life.
Yeah.
Honestly, you never
Uh-huh.
think that.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't believe it because you knew that everyone sort of had a feeling Kawhi wasn't going to stay.
Yeah.
So this is it,
This is it.
and it's got to happen now
Hmm.
or maybe never. So when Clay got hurt again, he got hurt, I think in the third quarter, fourth quarter.
Yeah, he was having a good game. Yeah.
He was having an incredible game, and that sucks too. Everyone was pretty respectful. Everyone,
Yeah.
no one was like yelling like good. Like everyone was like fuck, like
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Great player. He looks like a good guy, so you don't want that to
Hmm.
ever happen. But just it never felt like we were gonna win even at the end because Danny Green threw the ball away and then Steph
Yeah.
had a shot at the end. So you're like we're gonna get screwed again. We're gonna
Hmm.
lose again. I can't even but we somehow, managed to win, and it was incredible. And then we just partied. Everyone was partying. It was a
Yeah.
party.
Yeah, it was a lot of just a whole and a great organization, great, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, well deserved. Well deserved. That
it was.
2019.
I was in. This is so stupid. I was in Germany last year, and we went to the Berlin Wall,
Uh-huh.
and and I asked the guy. I was like, "Were you here when the wall went down?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was a crazy party." He's like, "It was like a 5 day party." He's like, "I didn't sleep for 3 days partying."
Wow.
And the only thing I thought about was like, I'm like, I would have died that night partying
Yeah.
because I almost died when the Raptors won.
One.
I literally almost, I couldn't even handle a Raptors championship. There's no way I was going to handle
Handle a bro.
beating communists. Like I wasn't ready, dude. I was like running down the street, like in the middle of the street, like ah.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was something real. I would
Hmm.
have died. So
Wow. So obviously you talked about Kawhi leaving. I mean, Kawhi wins the MVP at the finals, well deserved. And then he's one and done. Leaves to go to the Clippers. I'll ask you this, and I'm pretty sure I would think the same thing. Kawhi brings a championship one season. One season. Would you say they would retire Kawhi's number?
uh, I don't know if they will because he did. I think they're too spiteful the way he left. It
You
literally
think
we're
so?
gonna
I thought it was like, all right, I understand. I thought it was more of that attitude.
not really. I think there was a little animosity just because
I mean,
literally
and deservedly so, yeah. But I thought it was like, like it was more like, all right, we understand.
we
You know
we
what I'm
do
saying? A
we
little
treated it
animosity, yeah. Hmm.
we treated it like that. Like I feel like they
And the
treated it like
situation, he was on the final year of his Spurs contract, so he's like, all
that.
right, I have, yeah,
But like what they had done, they won it all. He's the MVP of the finals. Like you just never see anybody win it all and leave. And then with
hmm
everything that the people were offering them like free condos, free rest.
everything, yeah.
People were like, for the love of God, man,
God, just stay.
we could win again, please. And like I don't think there was ever a chance he was ever going to come back. Like he
Yeah.
says there was, but he didn't want to do it. So I don't know. I think with the year that we just had too,
Hmm.
just being very, very, very good
Good,
without him,
yeah. Second
and then
round.
Lowry playing at the level he played at,
Hmm.
there's no way Kawhi gets his jersey retired before Lowry.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
if
Well, the only reason I say Kawhi, I would say yes, because the ultimate goal is obviously a championship. And I know it's 1 year, but that's the ultimate goal.
yes,
Like if Kawhi was on the Knicks and they won, I'd be for it because like that's the ultimate goal. You do, yeah, he played 1 year, but without him,
yeah,
we
no, we
probably
don't.
wouldn't win.
No, we
So
don't.
yeah, so it's like, all right, I know it's 1 year. I know it probably goes against everybody's standards to retire a jersey, but with him and just achieving the ultimate goal in a city and in a nation where it probably won't be achieved again, and I'm no disrespect, I'd probably lift that exception. I'd probably like he's the exception. That's the only
I
way I see it.
I would be split down the middle. Wouldn't care. They did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He won us a championship. If they didn't, I'd be like, okay, he left
Yeah,
there.
either way, yeah, he left
I wouldn't
anyway.
I wouldn't care. But I will
Yeah.
say that we might get Giannis next year. So
Yeah,
we
I mean, yeah, 2020 was a great season too. And like you said, if they had Kawhi, who knows, they probably repeat.
would have won.
But
We would
yeah,
have
but they
won.
took Boston, they took Boston to 7, a weird season, the bubble year. Van Fleet had a great year, and the pieces they were still good. Siakam's great,
Yeah, he had
there's
a
a lot
bad,
of
bad year.
yeah, I just didn't know how to pronounce his name. There's so many guys that were great.
Yeah, we got a good team, and hopefully, I hopefully we keep Masai. That's the
Yeah,
real.
he's a great, yeah, because I remember the Knicks, there was rumors of him going to the Knicks, and yeah.
I hope he
But
signs, and then we'll take it from there. So
yeah. So yeah, we're at current times now. So yeah, I would say like right now, I mean, you had a great trip, like, with Who would you say now? I mean, you had a legend like, like you had Vince Carter at one time was the greatest Raptor. Then you had Chris Bosh, who was considered the greatest Raptor. We safe to say now, greatest Raptor of all time is Kyle Lowry. Is that
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even an argument.
Yeah. And he seems like he loves being there. And, now he's like, what, in his eighth, ninth season there? Or, it's been a,
Yeah, I think
been a
it's like
minute.
2012, 2000.
13, yeah. 13, yeah, 13, yeah. So it's like, yeah, like his eighth or ninth season. So he's been nothing but great. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't see that from him. He's like, all right, this guy's a solid point guard. Been around the block a little bit. And it kind of reminds me maybe of a Chauncey Billups, bounced around a couple of teams and then found
Yeah,
his footing in Detroit.
yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure. He's not as he's not as consistent of a shooter as Chauncey,
yeah,
but not as smooth either. But
yeah. Very
he's
unathletic looking, just like a pear-shaped guy. No
yeah, yeah.
disrespect.
But he just does like everything. He's just a winner. Like
Yeah,
he takes so many charges. He took a charge in the All-Star game. Like
yeah.
he just always gets like big steals and like he just makes these big plays. Do you remember? When?
Yeah, real quick, shout out to Julian Plant. He says Hito Turkoglu is the
Oh,
GOAT.
fuck you, Julian. I know Julian. He's a schmuck. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Julian, do you remember when I don't know if he's even listening anymore, but do you remember when Hito Turkoglu signed this huge contract with the Raptors?
I remember, yeah.
And he was like faking an injury. And
I think I remember that, yeah.
He was going out to like karaoke bars in like
Ah!
the Turkish area, like singing karaoke. But it was like the first week that there was iPhones, like they came out.
Oh yeah, I remember, yeah.
Everyone had a camera, and he didn't know. Like he was like still singing, but like everyone was recording him because it was like the first day. Like it's like, bro, you don't know about Apple? They're fucking taking off. You're doing karaoke. Everyone's filming them, and then he got nailed.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it all worked out. You could still celebrate the championship. It's a year old. You know what I'm saying?
That ain't coming off my head.
Yeah. I remember you wearing that in New York. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is great time. I was happy for you, man. Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to plug before we leave?
No, just my Instagram, Mr. Alex Pavone. You got it. Perfect.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. All right. Thank you again for joining me, man. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you soon.
Me too, man. Take care.
All right. Take care, man. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. That was Alex Pavone. Follow him on his IG, as it says in the ticker. Follow us at Root for Laundry on Instagram and Twitter. Tune in next week. We'll have another guest and another team. My name is Johnny McDonald. Thanks again for joining. Have a good one.